Dang, Shigaraki just took Re-Destro's lunch money. But for real, if there was ever a look that just said everything about a villain, that was it by Shigaraki. Hey guys, before we proceed, let me just mention one thing. How amazing is this ending with Shigaraki where he says, "You've got money, right, Mr. President?" I mean, what's his next move here? He has to buy that sushi for his friends somehow, and just like Shigaraki needs money from Re-Destro for his villainous activities, I too need support for my heroic videos. And this is why I've partnered with Manga Life to bring you this chapter review. Manga Life app is a free manga reader that offers over 25,000 titles to choose from. So whether you like heroes saving the world or scientists rebuilding the world, there's a manga out there for you. I myself am currently reading and really enjoying the Dr. Stone manga, especially with its full screen and high-res page display. Manga Life is only available for Android in the Google Play Store. If you want to check it out, just search Manga Life app in Google. And when you're ready to download the app, be sure to use my personal link down below in the description so that I can keep buying ramen to feed myself and you guys can start enjoying premium HD crystal clear manga at your fingertips. Just don't get too excited like Shigaraki and decay your phone, okay? As always guys, thanks for the support, and without further ado, let's get on with the video. Hey guys, it's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter review. Boku no Hero Academia chapter 239 of the manga. So much to talk about here. Obviously the victory for Shigaraki in the League of Villains, but also what their next steps could be, and everything in between. Just a lot to cover. But let's start with Best Lizard Boy. Spinner starts our narration for this chapter by slamming his head into the van when it stops short. I love this touch of him narrating because it keeps this chapter very light and free-flowing. We've needed that after so many dark chapters, and this chapter is supposed to be kind of light and really just a celebratory victory lap for the League of Villains. Also, if you remember, Spinner is the one to begin the story of My Villain Academia, and now he gets to close it out, which is pretty cool. Although, I still want his full backstory, so if you're listening Horikoshi, make that happen. Once you've accumulated both hatred and joy, you will be truly free. Okay, don't take that advice, but it's certainly true for Shigaraki. I'm just wondering if this is really the way to do it. While he is certainly free to destroy it all, I can't help but think that this hatred he has in his heart is going to catch up with him eventually sometime in his life, or sometime in his villain career. Regardless of his methods, Shigaraki goes absolutely nuts with his decay quirk. This brings up the question, how is Deku or any other professional hero ever going to fight someone when they can't even stand on the ground next to Shigaraki because they'll be decayed? I've mentioned this before, but Shigaraki is OP, but now that he has freedom mode engaged, he's unstoppable. I don't even think his own League of Villains members knew what to expect or how to handle this. You have Spinner grasping onto the van so he doesn't touch the ground and decay, and then there's a Twice clone running away from the decay wave with Garan. At this point, Shigaraki's just a force of nature. No wonder Gigantomachia bowed down to him at the end, which we will touch upon at the end of this video. But let me know what you guys think. Comment below. How would any hero, Deku, any professional hero, or the students in training confront Shigaraki at this point? Much less win against him. And what would you do to defeat Shigaraki? Because at this point, I don't have any strategies. So leave your plans below. Before going any further, I'm going to take some time to mention this. Before going any further in the next chapter and the next arc, we desperately need an update on the surviving members of the Liberation Army and the League of Villain members like Dabi, and if Toga's pulling through, if she's even alive. So I hope we get this in the next chapter, or when it flashes back to the heroes, the next thing we see is when it flashes back to the villains, everyone's okay and they're all chilling in their base again. From what I can see, it looks like Geten, the snow jacket guy that Dabi was fighting, did survive. Or at least before Shigaraki went 1,000,000% with his quirk. This being said, Geten would be an invaluable asset to the League of Villains and a great ally to Shigaraki now that Re-Destro has given Shigaraki control of the Liberation Army. Okay, now let's talk about the successor of All for One. Shigaraki goes 1,000,000% with his quirk and says, "I will break you into pieces." There's this great scene where Shigaraki's just smiling in elation. he's ecstatic as he's decaying the entire city and everything and everyone around him. This is so great because it's palpable. You can feel it coming off the page. If anyone is truly liberated, it's Shigaraki. We've seen this idea of a character being fully liberated teased in the last couple of chapters. Re-Destro can't seem to understand how could Shigaraki be so free and liberated if he doesn't accept my ideology, if he doesn't accept Destro's plan for liberation. So it's great to see him finally have this revelation about Shigaraki. I really like that this chapter actually didn't have much dialogue. Now I know it was delayed and I hope Horikoshi and his team are okay, but I honestly think it's better this way. We had some revelation in Re-Destro's thoughts in the background, but this way we truly get to see the real visceral reactions of Re-Destro as he realizes he's in way over his head against Shigaraki. CEO, you done messed up. I also really love this scene where Re-Destro cuts off his own feet to survive the decay. It's very brief, but it gives me a lot of respect for the CEO. Just a very gangster moment from Re-Destro. It also gives Shigaraki the opportunity to flex and taunt him by saying, hey man, you could have kept your feet, but you picked a fight with us. Who did? You did. Now this is the part of the chapter where you realize Shigaraki has become the top dog. The politician uses his incitement quirk to kind of rally the troops and save Re-Destro, and Shigaraki simply glances at them and it stops the quirk from having any effect. Just think about that for a second. All Shigaraki does is glance at them, and they felt enough fear to where they're compelled to not follow a quirk's orders. It does nothing on them. The amount of fear they felt was so strong, it totally canceled out the politician's power. You know who else triggered a level of fear like this? All for One. Yeah, I'd say Shigaraki passed his test. Also, this glare that induces fear is exactly what you'd expect from the one they call the symbol of terror. Shigaraki is officially the strongest, the GOAT. He's the villain king. Re-Destro realizes that Shigaraki is truly liberated, and he calls off the fighting. There need not be any more casualties. But when he raises his hand and does the sign of the Liberation Army one last time, I can't help but think that this time it truly does mean loser. This time, he took the L. But credit to the boss man, he sticks to his ideals. He just wants liberation. He just wants Destro's ideals of free usage of special abilities and quirks. And he knows that if there's actually someone freer than him, he doesn't have to be the leader. If there's someone else that is liberated and the personification of freedom, say Shigaraki, then he has no problem just passing the torch on to him. Speaking of passing torches, Shigaraki is now without question All for One's rightful successor. He passed the test, and Gigantomachia accepts him. He says, successor. I'm not gonna lie, just like the giant, I kinda had a tear in my eye too. Hashtag proud. We have this panel where Gigantomachia is looking out at Shigaraki as Re-Destro is bowing down to him. He's getting flashes of All for One. All for One, the supervillain who made the entire world, or at least Japan, bow down to him. And now we have Shigaraki, who just made Re-Destro and an entire army, or what's left of it, kiss his feet. Gigantomachia, he's always been emotional about Shigaraki, whether it's frustration and disappointment in his lack of strength, or concern for his well-being when he rushed to the city. But now, for the first time, these are tears of pride for his new king. Before embarking on our discussion for this chapter, which will be, what is the next move for the League of Villains now that they got that lunch money, I'll mention two details. One, Geten is still alive, or at least he was before Shigaraki went nuts with his quirk. But this being said, Geten, or Snowjacket, or the guy that was fighting Dabi, however you want to say it, to me, he's always been more rogue of a member in the Liberation Army. If you recall, we never got a panel introducing him and his quirk and his codename like we did on Chitose, the politician, or Skeptic. So, this in mind, I wonder if after all this happens, and if Shigaraki truly teams up with Re-Destro for the money, if Geten will actually follow him and the League of Villains. Number 2, not that Shigaraki has trouble finding a doctor, or comparatively the condition that his other members of the League of Villains are in, But if you'll notice, Shigaraki's leg is actually broken near his foot. Again, it's not that big of a deal, especially considering what happened to Re-Destro, but just a little detail I'd like to mention. If you are leaving us, plus ultra to you. But if not, enjoy the discussion on what the next move for the League of Villains could be. Hey guys, unedited discussion here. So let's talk about what the next step for the League of Villains is and what they could do with the money from Re-Destro. Now, besides buying copious amounts of sushi to celebrate their victory, which was well earned, I have 3 things to consider. 1, what role will Re-Destro play here? Because as we saw, he was ready to die, and he is certainly submitted himself to Shigaraki. He knows that Shigaraki is more liberated than him and more free, so he truly adopted Shigaraki as his leader. I'm in your hands. But this being said, I wonder if Re-Destro will just give him his money and then leave. See, I think it'd be more interesting if Re-Destro gave him money, but kept his company. Because if Shigaraki's smart, he could benefit a lot by doing this. So maybe Re-Destro could be like a Dr. Ujiko. That's Shigaraki's science guy, so maybe Re-Destro could be Shigaraki's black market CEO guy. Don't worry, I'm not replacing Guran, but Re-Destro could definitely help Shigaraki more if he sort of teamed up with him and became his inferior, or his, if Shigaraki is his leader and his boss. The second thing to consider is, and this is kind of what I touched upon by saying that Re-Destro should stick around and sort of help Shigaraki from the shadows, Re-Destro has technology. He has a company that makes support devices for people to control and augment and support and even strengthen their quirks. Shigaraki now has the Doctor's support and the Haya Nomu support because he has Gigantomachia's support as the rightful successor to All for One. So imagine if a high-end Nomu, mind you, one that had to be taken down by Endeavor and Hawks together, and it left some damage. Imagine an army of those that's now technologically enhanced with Re-Destro's company. We're not talking about if Shigaraki is OP or how you would defeat Shigaraki. We're talking about how would you even confront Shigaraki. He just has so much at his disposal right now. Let me take a drink. And the third thing is, speaking of technology and enhancing Nomu and enhancing their quirks and abilities, do you guys remember what the League of Villains was actually trying to do in the beginning of this arc? They were trying to take Shisaki's quirk enhancing bullet, or quirk nullifying bullet, and copy it. This was when they were explaining how Twice's quirk works, and he couldn't do it. But with Re-Destro's resources, he has a company, he probably has engineers, and he's got factories on factories. He could figure out how to duplicate this chemical and then mass produce it. So all those soldiers from the Liberation Army that Shigaraki just gained control of, they might not be as special and as trained as pro heroes, or even students from UA. But who cares? If they can just take a gun and shoot quirk nullifying bullets at pro heroes, Shigaraki doesn't even have to use the army of high-end Nomu. He's just going to take out quirks from the entire society. And if you'll recall, one of the big 3, Tamaki Yamajiki, he was even susceptible to a common street thug using a version of the quirk nullifying drug. So really, at this point, Shigaraki's resources and his potential are so unlimited. If he has this true balance with Re-Destro's company and the Doctor, man, there's nothing that's going to stop him. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. What is Re-Destro's role in all of this? Will he be in the shadows or more of a frontman in terms of money? Will Geten provide us any more Dabi backstory? And will he even follow Shigaraki? And truly, besides eating sushi, what is that next step for the League of Villains army? As always guys, thanks for watching. If you like these manga reviews and My Hero Academia content, consider enrolling at UA today by clicking the subscribe button down below. Also, turn on bell notifications so you're never late for class and Aizawa Sensei doesn't have to discipline you. And until next time, plus ultra.